fans, welcome back to another classic review. My name is Midnight Strike 3625, and today we're going to take a look at the Dream Theater classic Images and Words. So, this is their second studio release, as well as the album that set precedent, a lot of things that would come to pass in all future Dream Theater records. So, for example, it is their first record with a song over 10 minutes in length, as well as one of their most complex records in nature. So, getting into it, this is probably my favorite Dream Theater album at the time. You know, I reviewed it before. Actually, this is the first Dream Theater record I listened to, and I reviewed it about, 10-15 minutes after listening to the whole thing. And I gotta say, at first, I was very underwhelmed. I thought all the songs were really overblown, they sound dated, and the synthesizers weren't really used that well. But then again, I thought, you know what? Bon Jovi, Poison, Kiss, AC/DC, all these bands have songs that sound really dated, especially in the early to late 1980s. And I'm not complaining about them. And then I started listening to it again, trying to open my mind to everything that Dream Theater was trying to accomplish on this record. And my mind was blown. You know, even after releasing my review before, I kept listening to this album over and over again, just trying to get it in my head, and the positives only became more positives, and even the songs that I didn't really like at first, which were Another Day and Surrounded, I absolutely love now. So, I'm going to give you guys my opinion, and why I think this is probably going to be Dream Theater's best release that I've heard so far. So, I'm still discovering their discography. I have 3 albums now, Images and Words, Train of Thought, and A Dramatic Turn of Events. So, I'm going to be, systematically listening to every Dream Theater album, just as I am with Queensryche. So, those 2 bands are on my docket list right now. So, yeah, this is an awesome album. This is a very awesome album. One of the best, actually. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a track by track for you guys, and basically tell you what my favorite parts of each song and each part of the album are. So, overall, I think the drumming is phenomenal on this record. This is one of the few areas that I can pinpoint and say this is one of my favorite parts, because Mike Portnoy is probably now my favorite drummer of all time. He's replaced Charlie Benante from Anthrax. That used to be my old favorite drummer, but now my favorite drummer is Mike Portnoy. This album, as well as Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold, just absolutely floored me. I mean, especially in this album, it sounds like fucking fireworks are going off. It's just amazing how hard, and just the production value of the drumming, and it's just like it's put up front. It's not hidden behind things like it is in, say, A Dramatic Turn of Events on the Backs of Angels. It's just kind of hidden behind all the bass and the guitars and stuff like that, and you can't really hear it as much. Yeah, I know it's not Mike Portnoy on that album, but I digress. So, anyways, Pull Me Under. This is the most straightforward song on the album, as I said. It has an excellent use of synthesizers, as well as some drumming in the beginning, and the guitars sound phenomenal. In the beginning, it sounds more of like a rock, popish kind of metal vibe to it, and the vocals are fantastic. I mean, James LaBrie hits these notes like no other man. I mean, he sounds a little bit like the dude from Rush. I'm not really a big fan of Rush. In fact, I don't really like Rush. So, but he does sound like, he does have excellent range, though, the guy from Rush. And, maybe that's one of the reasons why I didn't like it at first, is because I don't really like Rush, and it reminded me of Rush. But now that I think about it, it's like the vocalist from Rush meets, say, Joey Belladonna. That's the best way I can put it. Joey Belladonna of the late 1980s. So, he's got great range, excellent vibe on this song, and it's, like I said, it's the most straightforward, but it's also very complex. It's very complex in nature, and the only gripe I have with it is that it cuts off. It goes on, and instead of fading out or ending on a satisfactory note, it just cuts off. It's done. And I know why they did it. I actually looked it up, and it's to symbolize death, and how it just ends so suddenly, and, you don't even see it coming, basically. And, that is very symbolic. However, when it interferes with the listener's listening experience, that's when I start to hold it to higher regards and say, you probably shouldn't have done that. When they do it live, however, when they perform this song live, they actually add a little outro to it, which is actually what I would love to hear on this record if they chosen to do this. So, the second song is Another Day, and really heartwarming, really smooth, really soothing song, and great vocals. I believe the vocals are the center point of this song, as well as the saxophone that is, you know, really latent throughout the entire verse structure, the riffs. So at first I really didn't like the saxophone. I actually found it really annoying. I actually didn't like this song at all. But like I said, then I started listening to it again, and you know, at first, you know, even the saxophone at first is just kind of surprising, but as you get into it, as you ease into, say, the verse structure, and by the time the second verse slides in, then it's just like, hey, this actually complements the song. It actually very much complements the song. And now I've grown accustomed to it and actually quite enjoy it. So another day, probably, like I said, there's a little bit of piano in there. It's a ballad, and it's, like I said, centered around the vocals. The vocals are the center point of this song. The next one is Take the Time. It's a little bit heavier, and James LaBrie's vocals start to get down and gritty a little bit, and he starts talking really fast. And there's a lot of bass stuff going on in here. I really enjoy it. A lot of synthesizers. The synthesizers are excellent on this song as well as on the rest of the album. It's a very long song, and it's very complex. That's all I can really say about it. So, really good song. Excuse me. Probably gonna get a drink after this. But, next song is Surrounded. This is a shorter one with, 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Like I said, I thought this song was a little bit overblown on the first time, but then I started listening to it, and my favorite part about this song are the lyrics. They're really uplifting, and it's just like, I know it's easier to run away than turn around and look it in the eye, but, probably butchered that line, but that was my favorite part about it. But, yeah. Anyways, this is my favorite, or one of my favorite songs, and excellent use of synthesizers, and like I said, this is another one where, the synthesizers are the focal point of the song, as well as some of the guitar riffs and the vocals. The vocals are very excellent on this song, and one of the best songs overall. So, yeah. Next one, of course, is Metropolis Part 1, and this one actually is so good that it inspired an album, a concept album, in 1999. It's actually the sequel to it, Scenes from a Memory. This one is, of course, The Miracle and the Sleeper. I keep calling this one Scenes from a Memory because I haven't heard the latter, and yeah, it says Scenes from Memory in one of the verses, but overall, this is one of the longer songs on the album. I believe it's like 9 minutes. Yeah, 9 minutes and 32 seconds, and it's very complex, very heavy. The vocals are very well done, and the drums, oh my god, those drums! I fucking love these drums. But, yeah, it's very complex. That's really the best thing that I can say, as well as very long. It's not too long and drawn out. It's not too long, but it's just the perfect length, just the right length to basically convey the message that Dream Theater is trying to convey here. I really like this song. So, the next one, of course, is Under a Glass Moon, and even when I first listened to this album and reviewed it, it was my favorite track. This is still my favorite track on the album. I just really like it because it's really frantic, it's really fast, really, really heavy, really progressive, and James LaBrie hits the high notes like no other on this song. I shit you not. Like, he starts sounding like frickin' Miles Kennedy, Sebastian Bach, Rob Halford, for God's sakes, on this song. He can really wail. So, like I said, the vocals are very excellent on this, as well as the riffs. The riff structure is very decent, very detailed, well thought out, and there's even like some solos, some little melodic twists in there that I really haven't experienced on any other album, bar Dream Theater's albums, but this is my favorite song on this album, bar none. Probably a close second will be Learning to Live, which is the next one, and at first, like I said, thought the synthesizers were outdated, but then I started listening to it a little bit more, and it actually complements the song throughout. So, this is definitely where the drums stand out on this song. I mean, on this album. But this is definitely where the drums stand out. In the beginning, he just bangs on those drums, and it sounds like fireworks going off in your ears. He's not even using a machine. It's just that tone, the kind of drum he's using, and just how fast he's playing it, and just the melodies. It was a treat. It was a real auditory treat to listen to this, the drumming. Especially when you pick it out and you look for certain different kinds of instruments. It's just amazing. So, The song is very atmospheric and it's very well crafted. Aside from, you know, my only gripe with it is towards the midsection, about around the 5 minute and 30-second mark, it goes into this random tangent that just really doesn't make any sense and kind of loses me. But, yeah. Oh yeah, Wait for Sleep. Yeah, Wait for Sleep. That was the other thing I was going to say. Wait for Sleep is a short piano ballad. And what really reminded me of this is in Learning to Live, they actually play a heavy synthesized version of Wait for Sleep. So they play it as an instrumental format in the song. So it's really cool how they do it. I've never seen that before. Hey, this is a song we did before. Let's replay it, but in a different fashion. It just really keeps the listener engaged and just wondering what's going to come next in this song. So it's a little bit overblown and drawn out a little bit, Learning to Live. It could have been a little shorter, especially with the 5 minute and 30-second mark. But after you get past that initial part, it gets a lot better, and it's very heavy, it's very atmospheric, and I really like it overall. And I can't believe they actually played Wait for Sleep. That was really awesome. That's probably my favorite part of the song. That and the drums, of course. The drums, you can't beat those drums. But speaking of Wait for Sleep, it is an awesome piano ballad, and I really like the melody. It's really short, it's got great lyrics, and they actually say the phrase, images and words, in one of the verses. So, you know, if you want to go a little bit that route, this could be the title track, per se. Not really the title track in the sense of this is what the album is named after, but this is basically the track that basically sums up this album in a nutshell, which could be why they played it in Learning to Live. So overall, I'm going to give this album a 9.7 out of 10, which is 2 points higher than what I gave Train of Thought, but I do love both albums. I absolutely love both albums. So it took me a while to get into this one because of the whole, like I said, you know, the saxophone and some of the ballads, but as soon as I did, I absolutely could not get enough. So Dream Theater is an amazing band. I will continue to listen to them, and kind of disappointed that Mike Portnoy quits, especially after, you know, the whole Avenged Sevenfold thing, but I guess it is what it is. We'll see what the future has in store for this band. They will be releasing their self-titled album sometime either this year or the next, and I will be reviewing that when it comes out. So here's to you guys. Thank you very much for watching. 9.7 out of 10. This is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.